within technology, I mean, we hear about this every single day within our lives, and it's going to affect us more and more. The fact is that if we don't involve ourselves or our businesses in that, we'll be falling behind. And I mean, the fact is that starting with Saltagen Ventures, why we looked at technology, is that how do we actually influence the rest of the world on a global sense, on a scaling sense, in that manner. I was fortunate enough to be raised in quite a privileged household. From my father's to my grandfather's generation, there was not really much of a need to continue the family legacy for the sake of continuing. We each had to find where our role and our passion was. And I recognized that a lot of the opportunities that were given to me would not be given to many other people. But how do I actually be able to contribute back to the community and the people that actually worked with us? I think technology will be one of the key components in that. Hence, from the angle of venture capital, it is probably one of the most meritocratic ways to actually evaluate how technology would be successful and to also involve multiple parties within the field that may be much more knowledgeable than us, and to also utilize our help in order to scale them up together. VCs as a whole has a broad spectrum. We classify ourselves as early stage startups, and we also classify ourselves as deep technology. Now, the thing is that I would look at it from technological factors in terms of understanding the risk that is involved with early stage startups and the likelihood of them completing a certain stage in their operations so that they can actually extract value from a next round raise. The core thing is that you want to secure, as a startup, a good pilot, and a good pilot that converts into recurring revenue. Therefore, you can have a good return. You can have a multiple on your valuation. Therefore, you can raise properly. So it all works in tandem, from operation to business execution to raising to business execution milestones on the next step. And we are very high touch compared to other venture capital funds in that we work very, very closely in terms of operations, technological validation, and raising at each level to make sure that they become successful as a startup. It's funny, right? Like, at an early stage, there's a lot less numbers compared to looking at private equity deals or investment banking deals. So how do you base it? Of course, there's a lot. You say you evaluate the team and the founders. That makes a lot of sense. But what are some of the core elements that we look for, in particular when we look at the founders, is the clarity of communication. The fact is that we know that it's not always going to be a bullish market. There's going to be ups and downs, and for them at the right time to tap into our help, that we can actually help them out and to work through certain difficulties and processes. We come in as a strategic investor, not just to knock on doors and open up opportunities, but really to work through business problems and technological problems together, or at least to get the right people to work together with them to clear these hurdles. A lot of Hong Kong founders, from the very, very beginning, they have a sense of scale. Number one, a lot of the business and success cases we can see they're being grown in Hong Kong. Whether be it's from technology or not from technology, they have a context of how big they want to grow it. Number two, a global sense of scale as well too. They know that they need to compete against markets in China and also markets in North America. And how do they actually go into that? But I kind of would also look at it from the other angle, is that if you have your head down, focusing on the upcoming numbers, the monthly report, the quarterly reports, sometimes you forget now how does a competitor coming out from China would also all of a sudden disrupt you as well too. How do you look beyond that market as you grow? You might be a yield generating business, but you might not be a global scaling. So that in the end becomes a small, medium-sized enterprise as opposed to a startup. A lot of founders in Hong Kong would benefit from the sharing of ideas from founders, including from Canada, from the US, in which they have a sense of scale. That long-term vision that might seem impractical, but the fact is that it's highly, highly necessary in order to make sure that your path gets there in the long run, because these types of investments are around 5 to 7 years long, and you don't see successes until there as well too.